In a lush forest, not far from a babbling brook, lived a clever fox named Finn. Finn was known for being cunning, often tricking the woodland creatures, and priding himself on how smart he thought he was. One sunny day while he was looking for food, Finn's ears perked up. He overheard two sparrows chirping excitedly about a secret grove filled with the most delicious, juiciest berries one could imagine. The idea of finding such a treasure made Finn's heart race with excitement. "I must have those berries," Finn whispered to himself, his eyes gleaming with mischief. He knew he needed to be clever to keep the grove all to himself. So he quickly hatched a plan. As Finn moved through the forest, he began to spread stories about a fearsome hunter who had set traps in the area. "Be careful, friends," he warned a nearby rabbit with an earnest look. "I've seen scary traps set by a hunter very close to that grove. Best to stay away." The rabbit's eyes widened in fear and he hopped away quickly, spreading Finn's warning to others. Finn's tales travelled fast and soon most of the forest creatures were too scared to go near the grove. Feeling proud of his trickery, Finn chuckled to himself and set off towards the place he imagined would be full of berries just for him. But as Finn made his way through the trees, he spotted someone slowly plodding near the edge of the grove. It was Talia, the wise old tortoise. Talia never hurried, just like the steady swaying of tall trees. Unlike the other animals, she seemed calm and not at all concerned about the stories Finn spread. "Finn," she called out with a warm smile, "where is this hunter you speak of? I see no danger here." Finn felt a tickle of worry in his chest, but quickly pushed it aside. He approached Talia, his voice coated in fake concern. "Oh, Talia, you must be careful. The traps are cleverly hidden. It's too dangerous without my guidance." Talia looked at him kindly, her eyes twinkling with wisdom that seemed to see right through Finn's words. "Dear Finn," she said, "your tales have sent the forest into a fright. But a story that doesn't quite ring true is like a wobbly stone bridge. It doesn't hold for long." Finn smirked, unfazed. "Old Talia," he thought, "cannot outwit me and my stories." As Finn continued to weave his yarns to anyone who would listen, he noticed something unsettling. More animals, encouraged by Talia's calm demeanour, began to gather near the grove, whispering amongst themselves. Their eyes watched him closely, full of curiosity and doubt. The more Finn told his tales, the more tangled his lies became. He found himself caught in a maze of his own making, needing bigger fibs to cover the ones before. As Finn spun his tales more wildly, the weight of his words pressed down on him. His once confident steps now felt cautious and jittery. The forest, which had seemed his ally in deceit, was slowly turning against him. The animals who were fond of chatter began to whisper about Finn's stories, each whisper sowing seeds of doubt. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with colours of orange and pink, Talia gathered the creatures by the babbling brook. The place was usually filled with joy and laughter, but today it was filled with concern and uncertainty. The gentle splash of water seemed to echo their worries. "Friends," Talia began softly, her voice like the rustling leaves, "Finn has warned us of dangers, but none of us have seen any trap or hunter. Perhaps we should trust in what we see with our own eyes." A squirrel twitching her tail nervously chirped. "But Finn is always so sure of himself. Could he be wrong?" Talia nodded thoughtfully. "Even the wisest can make mistakes. Fear can sometimes hide the truth." Meanwhile, Finn watched from a distance, his once proud ears now drooping. A hiccup of doubt rumbled in his chest where once it only felt puffed up pride. He realized that if things continued this way, he risked losing something he never thought he needed: the trust of his forest friends. The next morning, eager to see if his stories still held power, Finn approached the grove with extra care, but, lying beneath the shade of the wide, comforting branches, Talia was already waiting for him, untroubled and firm. "Finn," she said in her slow, gentle manner, "truth is like sunshine in the forest. It always finds a way through." At that moment, Finn felt his heart sink like a pebble tossed into a clear pond. He could sense the circle closing as the other animals began to gather, and it became harder to maintain his tales. The stories that had seemed so clever now seemed silly and threadbare in the warm light of honesty. As the animals gathered, their eyes reflected the hues of the early morning sun, mixing curiosity with disappointment. Finn stood amidst them, feeling smaller than he ever had. His pride had turned to ash, and the silence around him was as heavy as a storm cloud. "Finn," began Talia, her voice calming like the morning dew, "we all wish to know the truth. Is there really a danger, or have you led us astray?" Finn took a deep breath, the moment his stories began to unravel. The truth was caught in his throat like a stubborn thorn. But Talia's gaze, warm and understanding, gave him the courage to finally speak. "My friends," Finn admitted, his voice wavering like a leaf in the wind. "There is no hunter. It was all a tale of my own making. I wished to have the berries for myself and thought my fibs would go unnoticed." A murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd, the gentle creatures processing both their relief and betrayal. Finn lowered his head, shame washing over him like a cold river. "We understand mistakes," Talia soothed, stepping closer to Finn. "Everyone can falter, but what matters is how we choose to mend the wrongs." Looking up with newfound resolve, Finn asked, "Can I help? Let me work alongside you to restore what my lies have disrupted." Though trust was shaken, the animals could see the sincerity in Finn's eyes. Encouraged by Talia's wisdom, they decided to give the fox a chance to redeem himself. Together they walked to the grove where the berries hung in lush abundance, shining like tiny jewels among the green. From that day forward, Finn worked diligently, side by side with the other creatures. He helped fortify the grove and freely shared the bounty he once sought to claim alone. With each kind deed, the web of mistrust around him began to dissolve. Slowly, the forest creatures began to see Finn not as a trickster, but as a friend, learning to walk a path lit by trust and truth. And as the days wore on into many seasons, Finn felt something new grow within him, stronger than any sweet berry, a bond of friendship that could never be broken, if only he stayed true.
If you enjoyed this story, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content.